game that I'm trying to get to. For me, not for anybody else.
Like leaving the house?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Well, hockey's different. You just drive. Okay. So let's start this meeting at 6:01. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay. Moving forward, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of March 12th. Oh, you know what? Oh, Ryan was at March 12th. Yes. So you can.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. I was like, oh, can we do this? Yes, we can. Okay. So who wants to make a motion? Ryan's going to make the motion.
Good second.
And Beth is going to second the motion. And were there any further discussions on the minutes?
I do not think so.
I think I'm still so impressed with Leanna's minute taking.
She's good.
She's good. Okay. I'll take a vote on that by a roll call. So Ryan.
Was it I? Yeah,
I. Beth?
Aye.
And myself, I. So the minutes have passed 3-0. And Ryan, I didn't mean to lead you in that. I was just trying to provide a word that you were probably going to use. So I want to make that clear since it's a recording. Okay. Is there any public participation or announcements? I just want to thank our drama and music teachers and all the music teachers in the SU for helping, and SpongeBob was amazing, even dealing with difficult snow. Hey, Heather. But it was amazing, and the kids did it, and they did a fantastic job, and it was really fun to watch. So, and be part of. Okay, any other public participation or announcements? Now that Heather's joined? No. Okay. We will move on to the administrative report with quarterly financials, which include the quarterly financials, I should say.
All right. This is a fairly brief administrative report this month. So we wanted to start with some highlights, and Nikki, you touched on one of them. The SpongeBob play was incredible. Such a well put on production, even with a really big hiccup of some pretty significant weather. They made the best of a hard situation and had a really, really wonderful time. And with all that snow came some playing in the snow. So you'll see a couple of our kiddos playing in the snow, as well as some Heart Awards, which we did last Thursday. And then we had some kiddos doing some work together. So we've had a lot of really good, fun days. And speaking of the budget vote, so thank you to all. It did pass, which is very, very exciting for all of us, and a lot of hard work done by a lot of people. I wanted to update you all on the playground. I checked in with Jim Taft, and he is going to have someone from the state of Vermont come down to the school and do an inspection of the playground along with some recommendations. So that is in the works of being scheduled now. Once I have those recommendations, I will follow back up with the board. And a staffing update. We have one resignation this month. I'm asking the board to consider the resignation of Alina. She is really moving in a direction towards her passions and professional goals, and I am nothing but thrilled for her, but sad to see her go. But I am so excited for the opportunities that she has ahead of her. And I can't see my screen. Did West pop on?
No, not yet.
Okay. I said to her, I was like, it's okay if you don't go. So I'm not sure. I'll go ahead and do hers. And Christine, if she pops on and I can't see it, just interrupt me and let me know. So the theme of the month of March was tiresome in a good way. And as you can see, some more SpongeBob references, and the next slide for third graders. They talked a lot about SpongeBob too, that the preview, they really, really liked it. That was the best thing that happened for them in the month of March. What are they looking forward to? Some STEAM classes, as well as April break. And I think the grown-ups in the school would probably say the same. We're coming up real close on April break, and it's always much needed. Some of the projects that they did were a state t-shirt projects and some really fun leprechaun traps. Some upcoming events. So tomorrow is our last day before April break. We're off all of next week. Finding Our Stride begins April 22nd. It's not only on that day, but that is the starting day in the Wildcat Weekly. Tomorrow, you'll see the information to sign up if you're interested. And on the 25th, we have a Title I family engagement event geared not just towards middle school, but there's going to be a lot of middle school materials. There's going to be some high schools there for middle school, which is really exciting. So a good event. You can be all ages and come. You don't only have to be a middle school age student. And Christine.
That was quick. Nice job.
Yeah.
Okay. As always, my full report is linked at the bottom where it says April 4th. But I'm going to pull some highlights. So Lindsay, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yep.
The last question of the month for March was what makes you most proud of your child's school? And that's the breakdown of the responses or where they came from. And if you go to the next slide, I summarized the comments because it was just a comment question. And as you can see, most of the things that people said that made them most proud of their school, schools were really the amazing staff and teachers who love and care for their children every day at school. There were some comments about the sense of community and how close the community is, and that everybody knows who everybody is, which is really helps with our goal of making sure everybody feels a sense of belonging in our schools. So it really was nice to read the comments that people recognize how much the staff works to make sure kids are loved, taken care of, and have their needs met, and not just academically. So that was pleasant to read. Next month, our question is around student-led conferences. So that survey went out, and I'll bring you those results next week. We have been working on hiring practices as a supervisory union. I don't know, Lindsay, if you click on that, it'll pull up a document. Should pull up a document of what we're working on. And we're really trying to streamline our processes so that we can eliminate bias and make sure everybody, we're hiring the people that are the best people for the job. So we've been working in committee with myself, Larry Dower, our HR manager, Tina Canfield, and Tracy Price, our coordinator of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Brittany was part of that group, but she's no longer with us. And we really started with support staff, and we're coming up with consistent questions, look-fors for answers in those questions, how to rate application packets. We're doing a little bit of a bias training before the interviews even start, and ways that we score packets and interview questions. So it's a work in progress. It's not done, but it is definitely a needed system to put in place. So I'll continue to update you on that as we move further along. I think the last slide in my presentation tonight is the quarterly report. And if you click that, Lindsay, it'll come up. There it is. You can see our total revenue. All our revenues have not come in yet. So you're going to see the bottom line is a little in the red, but that's because the revenues are at 85. I think it says 32. That screen's kind of small. And the spent and encumbered money is 96.66 of our budgeted expenditures. So we're not worried about it because our revenues have not fully come in yet. But I'm happy to take questions if there are any about the quarterly report, the third quarter report.
So Ed has added, he's encumbered everything that he thinks is going to come in.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
This really is like where we're expecting to be when we get to the year end.
The year end.
Yeah.
Yep. And yep, I will turn it back over to you, Nikki.
Okay, I will click around and find my agenda. Okay. Okay, so items for discussion. We have a debrief of the budget vote. As we saw, the budget vote was very close, which I was hoping it would have been higher. I feel like maybe I didn't get the word out as much at the last minute because work got in the way. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts or comments.
No, I mean, I think it was out there. Several people put it on the listserv. There were signs up. The postcards were out. I don't know what else we could have done.
Yeah. I do know that Ways and Means met today. And they're working on increasing the yield so that the tax rate will go down. So I really hope that we presented a worst case scenario. I've also heard that there is a group trying to organize to get enough signatures to force a revote. And so we'll see what happens. I am personally burned out of budget meetings and would really like to move forward with getting the year sorted out. And I do think that we presented a worst case tax rate and it should go down from here. Hopefully the legislature's heard us and hopefully it gets a little bit more sustainable. Is there any other conversation on the budget?
There was talk about like a recount or anything like that. Is that something, or is that they would just?
They recount when they count.
I would
So
think they would.
like they do multiple counts when they're counting. So I don't know if you can request a recount. I feel like with the number of votes, a recount isn't really going to change it.
I think it's like 4 votes or something, or within 5 they do a recount. So it's outside of that.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think if anything, if we have to do another vote, hopefully our tallies will get better because the legislature will have changed the yield and the tax rate will be lower. So
When would we find that out? You know?
as soon as they do it.
By next week. I was in a meeting today and we should have that information by next week.
Is it looking promising that that it is going to go down? Because I got to tell you, I don't know if disappointing is the right word, but it just felt really sad that, like the school budget only passed by 9 people. Like if those 9 people didn't show up, we would have had to make some really big changes. And that to me makes me really sad because I spread the word to everyone I know, and like, it's just hard. It just, it didn't feel very good. We'll put it that way. It didn't feel very good.
And I'm frustrated because some of the stuff that I've read from the people that are looking to force a revote clearly did not engage in all the material that we presented. And so that just makes it particularly even more frustrating that we presented all this information, we presented our rationale, and people didn't engage with it and just voted no. So
I know I don't want to be toxically positive, but the flip side is you guys did such an amazing job. I mean, I really think like the narrative that you created with that PowerPoint slide and Nikki, the way that you presented it, I heard a lot of really positive feedback from parents in the community who watched it after the fact. And at the end of the day, it passed. And, I think there were going to be people that we knew people were going to vote no on this, regardless of what we said, regardless of what we had proposed, purely as a way to, try to communicate to at the state level government that this system is not working. And I think, again, I don't want to what's the opposite of raining on people's parade? But like, I really felt like so proud of you guys and proud of this town when it passed. So just to,
Yeah.
Slight
Well,
reframe, maybe.
I'm hoping that I can get information out on the listserv really soon that they've changed the yield and that things are better, and that I did present the worst case scenario. So,
How many signatures are needed for revote?
What was that question, Ryan?
How many signatures were needed for a revote?
So they need 5% of the total district voters, which is roughly 150.
Yeah.
To force reconsideration.
That's not a small ask.
Right.
No, that means that means that half of the people who voted no have to be willing to admit that they voted no.
Right.
I suspect there's some people who voted no that don't want anyone to know it.
That's interesting. And we can request to review the names, I think.
I got to take a quick call. Katie needs me. I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. So anything else on the budget? I don't want to move on to the next item. Okay. So we'll move on. Alina gave us a resignation letter. I'm excited for you, knowing what you want to do. I am worried about how we're going to fill your shoes. So I don't know what else to say. And I'm also sad that you won't be in our building when I come visit. So,
thank you. It truly has been an honor and so much fun, like so much fun. That supersedes literally everything. Being in the building, being with the students, doing all the things, the parent engagement nights, the lunch with the loved ones, the Friday assemblies, the dancing in the halls on Friday mornings, like literally, this has been an absolute blast. And I am beyond honored to have served this community and had so much love and warmth come towards me. So it is really hard for me to leave. I'm just very excited that I'm following my passion.
Yep. Yeah. And then we hope that maybe your passion was being here. Depending on what happens in the next couple months. So, okay. So, is there anybody else that wants to say anything, or?
I will miss your phone calls, Alina Martez. I love when you call me.
I'll miss your phone calls, Alina. I don't know.
Come on, you love Alina's phone
I will
calls.
miss you, not the reason for the call.
No, I'm also sad that you were leaving. I really appreciated all the really fun events, and I also really appreciated sort of like the care that you provided and the fairness and the way that you would talk it out with kids, and you could play the bad guy and you could play like the nice, kind one. And I appreciated both sides because I feel like sometimes kids need it. So thank you for running a tight ship. And I appreciate it. And I'm glad that I will have both of your children next year. So I know that I will see you hanging around where I am.
Nice. So do you guys want to take a vote now, or do you want to move on to the next item for discussion? I'm over either.
Can we vote now? Like, is this something we could do now?
Yeah.
Okay. I say we just go now.
Okay. Okay. So I will take a motion to accept Alina's resignation.
I will make a motion to allow Alina to resign.
Okay. Is there a second?
I can regretfully second.
Yes. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Lena, you have to keep us posted. And you have to come visit.
Plan.
Okay. I want to see you in the pit with your trombone next year for the musical.
I'm so sad I couldn't do it this year.
Yeah.
Because you'll have so much time with this new job.
I know. No, there's always time for that. Okay. We'll do a roll call vote, and we'll start with Ryan because he's in the top corner.
Aye.
Okay, Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Hannah,
Aye.
and Nikki is also an aye. Lena. Okay. Have we gotten any letters of interest yet?
We've got some. I've got a group of people that are interested in being on a committee, so we are working on that as we speak.
Okay, that's good.
Has the job been posted yet?
Yes, last week.
Okay. Great.
So Heather, if you know of anyone, encourage them to apply. You know of anybody?
Yes, but I don't know. I don't know anyone right now. I feel like administration is it's a hard place to be right now. And we know there's like a teacher shortage. I think there's also an administrative shortage. So I will keep my fingers crossed that we will end up okay.
Christine, I noticed that you ducked out for the hard conversation.
No, I'm sorry. We've got people trying to check into a hotel, and
No, I'm just teasing you.
sorry,
I'm
they
teasing you.
literally can't get in unless I call and verify the credit card. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, moving on. Kindergarten admission policy. So I wanted to have a discussion, and I really should have the policy up in front of us. So maybe, I don't know, do we race to see who can pull it up fastest?
Nikki, do you want me? You want me to pull it up? I'll mute myself, grab it, and pull it up and share it.
Yeah, I mean I was racing you to do that.
Okay.
It's called. I think it's called school age entrance. Don't look under kindergarten.
Thank you. And Lindsay, I think you're going to be faster than me. Because I can't. I used to know where to get to it. Is it under each school?
No, it's an SU policy. It's called school
Right.
age entrance.
I got it, Nikki. I can share it.
Okay, how did you find it? I used to be fast at this.
There are a lot of clicks to get there, but if you go with SU, and then if you search, now that Christine said it was called school age entrance, you can just search one of the words and it pulls up pretty quick.
But where do you get to policies?
Once you click on, if you scroll down a little, so if once you're in all the boards, if you
Yeah.
scroll down a little, I think you should find policies and procedures.
Oh, in the SU, yeah. Okay, we'll do this later. Clearly, I'm not as efficient as I used to be. Okay. Should we read it or, oh, there it is. I found it. Okay. Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union, to include Hartland, values early childhood education and recognizes the need and value of high quality learning experiences for young children. A child's early education years are critical as they form the dispositions, how a child learns, and attitudes that will affect the child's learning career. Research demonstrates, and our school districts recognize, that a child's entry into kindergarten is one of the most important educational experiences of his or her lifetime. Children who are fully 5 when they enter kindergarten are more likely to be physically, emotionally, socially, and intellectually ready for that important full-day school experience. It shall be the policy of Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union that students entering school must comply with the following entry age requirements. For admission to kindergarten, a child must have attained the age of 5 on or before September 1st of the year of entrance. And then there's stuff about preschool. Students, okay, and that's also about preschool, okay. is there any more about kindergarten? That's it.
Correct. That's it.
Okay, so we adopted this, what, like a year ago?
I think it was actually just this January. Hold on.
Or was it just, okay.
What?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what it says. It was
Oh.
January of this year.
Because it feels like a year ago. Based on the number of meetings we've had since then.
But what was our past policy?
Our past policy actually sunlighted, so we haven't had an active policy for the past, since we, when we sunlit all of the schools' original policies. But our policy was the same, but there was more language in there about how to request a waiver from the board. And in this policy, there is no language about requesting a waiver from the board. I wanted to have a discussion about this because it's come up before. And Beth, I don't know, were you on the board when it came up last time?
I'm having vague memories, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So the board was petitioned many years ago. Actually, I think it's been through two, that the kids enter kindergarten prior to turning 5, or prior to the September 1st date. It's a really slippery slope, is what we talked about last time, in that you have kids that you have to somehow do an evaluation on a kid to know if they're ready for kindergarten or not, and if they're more advanced than their age. So there's a evaluation process that would need to be created that would be fair for all kids, so that each kid was being compared fairly. And then on top of that, then if you've got one kid that you accept, but then the next kid is a day younger, and are you going to accept them? And there's no real defined way of saying this is acceptable to make an exception, and this way isn't acceptable to make an exception. So that's kind of why the policy exists.
I guess my question is, why are we discussing this? Is there an issue that has arisen?
There are several families that would there's one family in particular that would like to schedule a meeting with the board to discuss their child coming to kindergarten early. And Lindsay's had 2 other families request early admission as well.
How do we evaluate if a child says should be advanced in a grade? Is there a process to do that?
Not that I know of.
No, we don't have a process for that.
What are normal standards, in the educational community that are used to assess readiness for kindergarten beyond age?
We do a screening at kindergarten registration that gives us information about where each student is at. Other than that, none that I know of. And it is tricky. And, the state allows a window, which is, I think, you can choose from September 1st to December 1st, I think it is.
I think that's right, Christine.
Yeah, and this in the SU board, and we did have this policy at Hartland before we sunset them all.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember the board meeting with at least one family with the decision that it's just the answer was no, and I think it was because once you open that door, you really open that door, and without a concrete way to determine. It just gets really tricky.
It's kind of an equity issue, because it makes me think families that are maybe a little more well off or would be more aware of this and would want to push that, or have more resources to have their child be more advanced for one reason or another.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to agree with Beth. That's what I was going to say, is that I feel like it is definitely an equity issue. And, You know, like we always say, the best place for a kid is with kids who are their peers. And if it's been established that September 1st is what, you know, where the peer group starts, then I feel like, you know, we've got to stick to something, because the moment we change something, whether the date is like September 2nd or August, whatever, you know, we've now, I mean, there'll be past practice. People will be like, but wait, I really wanted my kid to go into kindergarten early. And like, I get it. Like, a lot of times you want kindergarten to go in early, like, you want your kid to go early because, like, it's full day and you don't have to pay for it. And there's all these resources. Like, I get it. But once we change the date or we say yes to somebody, like, I think it turns into a really, really, really big mess.
I agree.
I'm a mom of a kid that has a very early fall birthday, and she's like the oldest in the class. And it's a non-issue in the sense of her, you know, and I think she might be more mature than other kids in the class, but I don't think academically it's hindered her in any way, shape, or form in that sense. Yeah, and I just keep thinking of if she was an 8th grader right now, like, where would she be?
I guess the only kind of alternate perspective, and I also should say I'm a September kid who was not, my parents had no interest in me starting early because they had tried to start my sister early and realized very quickly that was like not the right approach to educate. It was not a race, right? They very quickly were like, hold on, let's let all these kids, like, you know, percolate as long as they need in these spaces. So, and it seems to me from talking to most people that there's almost this attitude that, like, oh, it's better to have an older kid. Like, it, you know, with the way that education is structured, it's better to have your kid be a little bit older. So the one kind of pushback is just, if, you know, it is one of the advantages of being in a small school community, is it gives us a little bit of an opportunity to, you know, individualize things. And what the kid, it really was. And again, I'm speaking outside of my scope of practice, so, like, shut me down if I'm totally wrong. But if there was a way to evaluate and say, for this particular kid, it might be really better for them, for whatever sorts of reasons, that it would be nice to have a pathway for that.
I think
that we would not want that to be abused, because now you have a classroom teacher who's dealing with a kid who's not mature enough there, et cetera. And that's a disadvantage to the other kids in the class, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just that, I guess that would be the one kind of alternate perspective.
Yeah, and it makes me think of, like, what resources do we have? I mean, we have a ton of special ed resources, but what resources do we have toward gifted and talented? Because that's where, you know, so the kid goes to kindergarten when he's supposed to go to kindergarten, but then say they are advanced in certain things and they should be reading at a 1st or 2nd grade level. How can we, you know, is there ways to assure or to help, you know, tell families that these resources are in place so they can be, you know, directed to more a gifted and talented program or something?
Yeah.
But also stay with their peers, because if they were, like, amazing and they are doing, like, 9th grade math in 5th grade, like, don't throw them in with the 8th graders. Like, that would not be a good thing. Like, how do we support that kind of stuff at the school?
Yeah, I think I also have one of those kids that could have started earlier. And when we were doing the research and when we were talking to the school, the advice that we were given is that the difference doesn't show up when the kid is 5. Like certain kids are just calmer and able to handle kindergarten better than kids that are more active. But that difference of, like, how well you listen to adults and how still you sit in your seat kind of goes away by the time the kids get to middle school, and that the kids that were pushed ahead kind of start to fall apart when they get into the older grades. And that's not saying that everybody does, but that from what I've heard, that is where the difference really starts to show up. And I I had an older child who was the oldest in his grade for his time in Hartland, and I was an August birthday, and I felt behind the entire time. So I just feel like that we have a date and we need to stick with the date, because the wishy-washiness of, like September 2nd can creep all the way till October 15th. if we don't have a hard date. Like, I feel like we have a date and we need to stick with the date. And
wait, I'm just want to make sure I think about this in the right way. So we picked September 1st. There might be school districts in Vermont that picked a later date, meaning kids could be still 4 when the school year starts.
Mhm.
Got it. Okay. Right. And that's like, I think like New York City is that way, right? They're like just January 1st. So I think like a lot of kids start kindergarten at 4. Okay.
And I think where it challenges particularly Upper Valley families is that I believe New Hampshire is October 1st.
That is correct, because I had an October 6th baby. He had to wait.
There we go.
And it was actually the best thing for him. So
What I find funny is that like school actually doesn't start on September 1st. School starts on like August 28th. So like if we were really doing this by the book, it would be like by that date. But
It would have to change every year.
yeah, I know. But like, so.
So, I mean, I think we all agree that like better to wait, but just to bring this up again, do we want to have any pathway for families to appeal this or no? Like, do we want to just make it like, this is it, we won't even hear the case, or do we think there should be any kind of,
Like right now, the policy doesn't. I mean, this is the policy that was voted on in January. And in order to change it, we'd have to go to the SU board.
got it. Okay.
And
Well, that
the SU
sounds-
board felt like, and also this is the state of Vermont policy where we select the date and put it in. So the state of Vermont policy also does not recommend a waiver process.
Got it. Okay. That sounds like probably a lot of people that know a lot about this have thought about this a lot and come up with some good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we have this discussion as well.
Yeah.
So that,
No, but that was helpful for me. Sorry. Because again, this is not anything,
Yeah.
but
But do we have any assurances to around gifted and talented, like supports and things like that, to be able to at least tell families, yes, this is the rule, but
We don't have a designated Beth Gifted and Talented program, but there are, resources that students can access. Interventionists can do that as well. Classroom teachers to an extent can do that, but there's not. I know some states have like a Gifted and Talented program. We don't have that.
And I think haven't gifted and talented programs been shown like only to hurt other students and not do anything good for the kids that get into the gifted and talented programs? Like, isn't that? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. My husband was in one.
It was probably fine for him, but probably like those, when you separate out those kids, you only hurt the kids that don't get in, right? You don't actually like.
I was in the class that was a step below. And it turns out that the class that was a step below were the kids that had ADHD or dyslexia.
Yes.
So you had the gifted and talented, and then you had the step below, which was somewhat chaotic, but very bright.
Yeah. The only thing I've sensed frustration from some families and things around the sense of like, we have so many resources for special ed, which is critical and so important. But like, how are we supporting students that are sitting in classes bored? And that we don't have the mandate from the state of like, oh, they have an IEP, we have to educate them in this way. And so they don't tend to, get those resources like the special ed kid would get.
Yep. I feel like that's more so in the elementary grades, the 1 through 5. I feel like there's a little bit more differentiation when you get into the middle school grades. But that's only based on my own experience.
And there's a lot of, especially in our K-5 too, Nikki, there's a lot of differentiation happening for our kiddos in all directions. So
that may have improved since we went through.
we get as creative as we possibly can in meeting the needs of all kids.
Yep. Okay. So I just wanted to have that discussion in public session, and I would choose to link people to this public session, should they want to request a waiver from the board. Okay. So is there anything else? We covered all the items for discussion and we didn't change anything to the agenda at the beginning. So technically we are through this and we are setting the agenda. Does everybody agree? Told you guys we're going for record time today. So, but we also have had so many meetings that record time is not bad. The setting of the next agenda. We'll need a hiring update. We will. That will be May. Wow.
May 7th.
How? Okay. This whole late budget thing is messing with me. Okay. Anything else that we need to talk about?
We scheduled the board retreat as our June meeting, so we should probably talk about the board retreat
Right, board
location.
retreat.
Okay.
We don't go anywhere, Ryan.
No.
We have dinner at somebody's house, and it has been my house for a while. Okay, so we'll discuss the board retreat. What other things happen in the spring? We'll be wrapping up a school year, but we just saw financials, so that should be all set.
Are we, I mean, like, don't we have, will there be anything about if we have any teachers leaving or anything?
Yeah, I guess
like,
I said hiring update, but that would
Okay.
probably be a staffing / hiring
Yeah.
update.
Do we want to discuss usage of that $10,000 for the playground safety?
I don't, did you tune in? Lindsay's got an inspector coming from the state of Vermont that's going to provide some recommendations. So I think,
Great.
I mean,
Oh,
that's,
I must have missed that at the beginning. Okay, thank you.
yeah, because
Sorry.
I got us going.
No, that's good. I'm sorry, I got held up at work.
No, that's okay.
Can I ask a question? When is the next time? Maybe it will be the June, but I'm curious about. I know that one of your focuses this year is star scores and really trying to improve those and see some growth. And so, are those by our May? Are you? When's the window open for your last time you're testing kids?
We wouldn't have them by early May.
Okay, so but maybe
we
maybe by June. So
Yep.
we'll put
At
that-
the retreat, we can do that.
Okay.
What is the date of the retreat?
That's what we're going to discuss at the next meeting.
Okay, we haven't picked the date. Okay, got it. Okay.
No, we usually time it around our June meeting.
It may be in your calendar as the next board meeting in June.
Oh,
And
I
it
have
does-
mine down as June
June 4th.
June 4th.
Okay.
So that's the regular meeting night.
okay. So we'll talk about it.
It can be changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It may depend on
Your schedule.
sports. Okay. Anything else for the next agenda? Keeping it light. Everything's at the SU level.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need an executive session? No, we do not. Okay. I think at this point I would take a motion to adjourn.
I want to show you.
So moved.
Okay. Hannah moves.
I second.
Okay. All
Someone
of
coming
you.
over to
Heather was the
snow
loudest.
blow my driveway again.
You're gonna go snow blow your driveway again?
No, I already done it twice. It's actually, I'm pretty proud. In my neighborhood, I feel like maybe I might be the one who wins the award today for like clearest driveway.
Until it
We're
starts
on it
snowing again.
My snowblower broke at the end of last storm. So we've been hand shoveling out every so often today. Because we're like, what's the rush of getting it fixed? We're good.
I took all the rocks out of my garden, and they are now all back in my garden. I just watched them get pushed. And by rocks, I mean rocks, because our stone wall fell apart and fell into the garden. So, yeah. Okay, I think we're done.
Wow.
Alina, we will see you next month.
Yes.
If you don't get to get away, and you get to come to our retreat. So we'll see more of you. Okay.
Julian appreciated the remote session today.
Yes, I bet.
I don't want you to think he was absent.
Well, we got to see more than one kid this time too.
Always. It's like mom magnet.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna go see how the roads are.
All right,
Bye, guys.
be careful. Take care.
Look out there.
We'll
They're
see
not
you
bad,
later.
Nikki. I just
Christine,
drove